Howdy, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of What Have I Gotten Myself Into? Behind me is a 1953 Ford F6. I don't remember if it's F6 or 600. Bet you the hood says 600. Behind me is a 1953 Ford F600. And I picked this up a little while ago. As you can see, it's full. I did the right thing and immediately started throwing scrap into it before working on the truck at all. The only thing we got going for us is it does run pretty good on a boat tank over there, but nonetheless. But other than the fact that it runs halfway decent, she needs some work. None of the brakes work. The master cylinder is locked up tighter than Alcatraz, so I'm going to see if I can beat that apart and rebuild on it, because parts are expensive. But yeah, the goal is to get the brakes working on this thing so I can take the load of scrap here to the scrapyard. So yeah, follow along with me as we dive into this next adventure. Well, as you can see, we're off to a good start. I got both ends of this soaking in PB Blaster, and now I'm trying to get this filler cap out. But yeah, I know there'll probably be some comments, oh, just buy new parts, it's brakes, it's dangerous, blah blah blah. For one, I'm broke. Well, within reason. For two, how do you think they did this stuff back before you could order stuff overnight from China, you know, like back in the day? Like, this truck does 45 miles an hour tops. So, and we're not stopping. It's not super heavy. It weighs about the same as your average pickup does now, aside from the load of crap. So, like, it's not like we're stopping an 18-wheeler here. Like, it'll be all right. But back in the day, you know, they rebuilt everything. Like, brake master cylinders, wheel cylinders, clutch slaves, like everything was rebuilt. It was reused. You put new gaskets and O-rings in it and you sent it. So, like, as long as you know what you're doing, I obviously don't, but as long as you know what you're doing, this can be done safely, even though it is the brake system of the vehicle. So as long as you're not as dumb as I am, it should be okay. Alright, Internet, you win this one. I got it apart, but it kind of disintegrated on the way out. I mean, I could probably get a new cup and put this back together and it might be okay, but before I do that, I'm gonna see if I can source one of these and see if it's cheap enough or if I can even get them anymore. But yeah, I'm gonna do some searching and we'll come back to this. All right, with a little movie magic, there we go, brand new one instantaneously. Actually, it's a few weeks later. We got pounded with a bunch of snow and it got cold and I didn't want to work on it, so here we are, a couple weeks later, new parts. I'm gonna bench bleed it quick and then slap her in and see what other problems find us down the line. So I don't know if bench bleeding is absolutely necessary, especially on something like old like this. Some people say you gotta do it, Some people say they've never done it and don't have any issues. All I know is I hate crawling underneath this thing, so I'm going to bench bleed it so I know that it's done and I don't have to take it back off again. Pretty simple. Just got a piece of rubber hose shoved down in the outlet there. There's only one outlet on this one. And a bolt rammed in there so I can just kind of slowly pump it and let it cycle all the air out. I don't know what doing it this way is any different than doing it in the truck, but here we are. Alright, got her bolted back in there. Got the brake light switch sensor thing put back in. That's actually the banjo bolt, and it's all one piece. Goes in this block, and that block spreads out to all the wheels. I even fixed the wire end for it. You know, pretty optimistic, thinking I'm going to have working taillights, but, you know, I was down here, so might as well fix it. So yeah, I'm gonna crack some bleeders and see if we
What was that?
can get some fluid to the wheel cylinders and see if the wheel cylinders are also dicked. Let's go.
You didn't see anything, right?
Alright guys, as I figured what happened, I got the brakes bled, got good pedal. I backed it out of here, gave her some beans and nailed the brakes. Had good pedal, didn't slow down a bit. So I'm pretty sure the front wheels, or all the wheel cylinders are froze up, so I'm going to pull the fronts off and see if I can rebuild them, because they're kind of a pain to find, and if you do find them, they're kind of expensive for these old trucks. So yeah, I'm going to see if I can fix the front brakes. And if I can get the front brakes working, that'll probably be good enough, because I really don't feel like dicking with the back till I can unload the body. So yeah, let's get to it. Alright, so I got the wheel off here. Almost forgot. Can you see in there? There, you can see that one. So that's an L right there. On the left-hand side of the vehicle, these old Bud style lug nuts, they're left-handed thread. So you gotta tighten it to loosen it. But yeah. So if you're ever working on one of these old trucks and you're fighting to get the left side off, that's why. Left-handed thread. So yeah, these are not like a modern vehicle where you just pull the drum off, or a modern, I guess it'd be disc brake now, but I can't just pull the drum off. We got to take the spindle, the cap off. There's a spindle nut and jam nut and washers in here. We'll pull all that apart, and then this whole hub assembly comes off. Then we can work on the brakes. So yeah, I'll get this torn apart and I'll show you where I'm at. Alright, got the hub off, and I'm actually really happy. I'm going to say that shortly before this truck got stopped being used, it had a brake job done, because these don't look that old. I mean, the liners look like new. The seal looks like it's been replaced, which is good, because I'm going to reuse it, because them are hard to find. Yeah, so we're going to pop this bad boy off, and oh, that's kind of neat. It's a single acting. It only pushes out of one side to push the brakes out. Interesting, I've never seen that before. Yeah, I'm going to pull this apart and see if we can save it, but not real optimistic. Alright, let's go. Alright, so I got the wheel cylinder off, and it's pretty crusty, pretty frozen there. Normally, if they're double acting, you can just knock them through one side, but since this one doesn't have a back side, what I had to do was I took this grease gun, and the hose actually threaded in there. It's not the right thread, but it did thread in there enough. And started pumping on it. And if I can do this one-handed, it pushed it out. So I'm going to finish pulling that out of there and see if it's salvageable. Alright, there we go. I got her all apart. Ran the hone in and out of it. It looks worse than it is. But yeah, I got the bore pretty well cleaned up. Now I just got to clean all my grease off of this. Make sure that this O-ring here is alright. Slam her back together. Well, I got all my pieces cleaned up. This is a little bit worse than I would have liked it to be, but we're going to slam her back together and see what happens. It should still seal up. It's still nice and soft. It's not cracked anywhere, not cut anywhere. It's just got some pits in it, but it'll probably form back out. So yeah, I'm going to throw this back together, and then we'll throw it in, and then we'll do the other side, and then screw the back brakes, and we will see if we got front brakes. Alright guys, so once again, it's a week or two later. Got the new wheel cylinders in. I spared you showing all that I showed you the first time. Same process, just with brand new parts, not poorly rebuilt old ones. So now I got the bleeders cracked, just kind of letting them gravity bleed, hopefully, maybe. But while that's doing that, I'm figuring out the fuel tank system, or situation. Currently I've got a boat tank just sitting on the passenger floor, and I think that's less than ideal for trying to get all the way to the scrapyard, like 15 miles away. So what I'm going to do is try and get the in-cab tank working. This thing's got 3 gas tanks on it. There's 2 on that side, 1 in the cab, and those 2 are disgusting. So the one in the cab looks like it's pretty decent. So I'm working on that. Right there is where it hooks up to the cab. The ones from the exterior ones are already been bypassed, so them have probably been rotten for a long time. So So that line just wraps around, goes all the way back, goes up to the tank in the cab. And I was trying to figure out why when I blew air in the filler, nothing would come out here. So then I started investigating in the cab a little bit, and I found this. Ugh. Oh, my light died. Oh well. Yeah. I don't think we're reusing that. And hopefully the inside of the tank doesn't look totally like that. So I'm going to pull this apart, probably blow some air into here, blow some air into that, see what comes out of there. And yeah, replace this filter with something, and we'll go from there. So I'll update you when I got something to update you with. Alright, so I pulled this guy out, hoping that it would just be like a stand tube that came all the way out, but it's not. There's a tube inside of there, which I can only assume is probably pressed or put in, like welded in or something. It's part of the tank, and she is plugged right tight. So I sprayed some of this panther piss in there, hoping it'll dissolve whatever gum and turpentine and crud is in there. And I'm just gonna kind of keep working it with that and some air, and hopefully I can get her freed up. Alright, so I got impatient and I couldn't for the life of me get that to clear out. So I just drilled it out. Whatever's in there fell to the bottom of the tank, and now it's got like, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch of material there. So I got some 5/16 fuel line here, and it's a pretty snug fit in there. If I get it to feed down in there. Come on. So right there was my mark from bottom, so we're about 1 inch off the bottom. I'm gonna leave it right like that. Oh, I gotta pull that back out again. But I'm gonna put the nut back on there off of the I don't know where it went, off the other little piece. I'm gonna put the flare nut on there, and I think I'm just gonna tighten it down and then put some GB weld on it, and it's just gonna be good enough. Then I'll put a filter on there, and yeah, we'll move forward. So I'm gonna get all that done, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I changed my mind a little bit. I put an O-ring on there, and my hopes is that when I slide all this down in there and I tighten the nut up, that O-ring will kind of grip the tube, and that'll just hold and seal everything, and then life will be grand. And hopefully it's good enough for a dump truck that makes a scrap run 2 or 3 times a year. So yeah, I'm gonna throw this together and then get back to you. All right, I got all that thrown together, and this is actually surprisingly well in there. That worked out better than I thought it would have. Got this on, new filter, you know, new, used, good enough. So yeah, that all works. Now I gotta hook the fuel line back to the carburetor, because I've got that boat tank hooked to it right now. I'll get that hooked up, and then run and get some gas, and we'll see how that works. So I'm ready to hook this fuel line back up. This is the last thing I got to do before I dump gas in this thing and see if the fuel tank is going to plug up or not. And you think I could find a chunk of hose to go from there to there? No. No, what I did find was this stuff right here. But this stuff is pretty hard and not real pliable. So I don't think I'm going to get it to stretch over those barbs. I really don't want to run to town for 8 inches of hose, so I got this science experiment going on here. This is a hubcap center off of like an American racing wheel. It's all rusty, so don't worry about it. But we're boiling some water, trying to heat the rubber back up. Ooh, that's working real good. I can almost pinch it closed. So I'm gonna let that percolate for a little while. I'll flip it over to the other end, and then hopefully we can stretch her on there and be back in business. Yeah, redneck ingenuity. So the whole boiling water thing actually worked pretty good. It's just too bad this is 1/4 inch line, and the barb fittings they used are actually 3/8, which I had plenty of hose for. So yeah, forget about that. Hose is on. I'm gonna go get gas. We're gonna dump it in here, and we're gonna see if it works. Looks like I might have a little leak to address there, but that's not too bad. big puddles back here. All right, that should pretty well do it. This thing's ready for a test run. So yeah, I'm gonna call that a video right here because this one's probably getting pretty long. But next week I'll go and haul this in, and then I've also got some work for it to do. A buddy of mine needs me to haul some sand or something around his yard. So yeah, next video we'll be putting this little girl to work. If you like this kind of stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, I'll keep doing it.